Let me guess. You're here because probably you are not a native English speaker and you are learning English. And of course, you want to check whether you have been making these mistakes too. Well, I got news for you. Probably you have. But why do we make some of these mistakes? Well, it's very, very, very simple. So please stay connected and stay with the box. Let's speak about something that is called interference. And what the hell is interference? Interference is nothing but your first language interfering with the language you're learning. In this case, if you are a Spanish speaker and Spanish is your first language, Spanish structures, Spanish pronunciation, Spanish vocabulary is interfering with English. And that's why people say things like no is good, because in Spanish it's natural to say no está bien. So in English is no is good, right? But no, we know that in English is it's not good. And like this, there are many, many mistakes. But well, having said that, let's begin spotting them. You're gonna see how often people make these mistakes.
I am agree.
Yeah. I know it sounds ridiculous. I know it sounds like, come on, this is too obvious. Well, believe me, this mistake happens and it happens a lot. Remember, in English, agree is neither a noun nor an adjective, but a verb. So you are not supposed to say things like, I'm agree. Not really. In Spanish, it's very typical to say, estoy de acuerdo. And estoy de acuerdo sounds dramatically similar to say, I am agree. But no, because agree is not an adjective. So in this case, what's the correct form? I agree. Eliminate the verb to be from your structure. And what happens if the sentence is negative? Should we use the verb be? No, we never use the verb be. Remember that. So the negative form of I agree is I don't agree. So remember, I am agree? No. Do you agree? Well, so now let's move to the next mistake of our list. Are you ready?
Stop overusing. How?
Yeah. Although you don't believe it, people overuse the word how. And then again, yes, because of interference. That's it, that's right. Yes, usually the mistakes that I am spotting right now happen with Spanish speakers learning English. And let me tell you a very simple example. I think Asa Gonzalez speaks how a native. Hey, wait. She speaks how a native? Are you sure that's correct? Well, obviously not. In this case, although in Spanish it's pretty natural to say Asa González habla como nativa, como, how. In English, that doesn't work. In this case, remember, you are not supposed to use the word how. You are going to use the word like. Because like, besides being a verb, is also a preposition. And it's a preposition that means similar to. So remember, every time you're comparing two objects, two nouns in the way they do something, you have to use like. And the pattern is quite simple. You just need a verb plus like plus your noun. So in this case, Asa Gonzalez doesn't speak how a native. She speaks like a native. It smells like hamburgers. And the same happens with the following questions. Questions that in Spanish are commonly used with the equivalent of how in Spanish, which is como, but not in English. A very simple example of this is, hey, how do you call this thing? If you don't want anyone to answer back something like, I don't know, if you want to call that thing, you can use your phone, or you can text it, or you can send an email. Probably you're just gonna be like, what the heck? And that's for a very simple reason. You are asking for the way, the method the means you can use in order to give this thing a call. The correct word, if you want to know the name of this thing, is what. What do you call this? Then the other person will reply something like, oh, a cutter. Exactly, that's what I meant, a cutter. You see? And the same happens with questions like, how does she look like? How does she look like? Not really, it should be with what. What does she look like? Ah, well, she is pretty, she is slim, she is tall, etc., etc., etc. And actually, it comes connected with the thing that I told you before about like. What does he, what does she look like? And another example of this is when you're asking for some word that you don't know, and you say, hey, how's the word for this? Is that correct? Well, not really. In that case, you should also use what. Hey, what's the word for this? Oh, that's a cutter.
I have 30 years old.
Duh. Believe me, this is one of the most typical mistakes. Yeah. This is one of the things that you learn practically from the very beginning. This is basic English. Nevertheless, it's a very common mistake with accomplished learners as well. Not only with beginners, not only with intermediate students, but with accomplished ones. In Spanish is like super typical and actually is normal because literally the question in Spanish is that, how many years do you have? And then you answer, how many years you have? In English, people don't ask you how many years you have. That's why you're not supposed to say, I have 20, I have 30, I have 40. And of course, even a worse mistake is to say, I have 40 years old, I have 50 years old, I have 60, 70, I don't know, whatever. So please stop making this horrible mistake. And this doesn't apply to the age of people. This applies practically to the age of everything. If we're speaking about a movie, the same thing. I don't say, hey, how many years does that movie have? No, I say the same. How old is that movie? Hey, the other day I was watching Back to the Future and I was wondering how old it is. Same thing. Well, so hope you remember this next time you're speaking about something's or someone's age. Remember not to say ever, the verb have when you're speaking about something or someone's age.
Fun or funny.
Ah, this is a good one. People tend to believe that they manage properly the words fun and funny, but guess what? Probably you are not managing them well. And let me tell you why. People tend to believe that actually they are kind of the same thing, but no, they are not. Sometimes you want to say things like, hey, having a holiday in Cabo sounds like a funny thing. Hey, wait. A funny thing? Really? Not that much. Fun can be an adjective, yes, but it can also be a noun. And it has to do with entertainment. There's no comedy in here involved. In this case, a holiday, a vacation in Cabo sounds like a fun thing, like an entertaining thing and relaxing, by the way. You can also use it in the expression, let's have some fun. Let's have some entertainment. Let's have some relax. Now, speaking about funny, funny refers to something that actually provokes you to laugh. In this one, comedy is involved. It refers to something hilarious, something comical. When you're just scrolling on TikTok, yes, and watching funny videos, exactly, that's it. You're watching things that provoke you to laugh. So those are funny. Also comedians are supposed to be funny. I know some of them are not funny at all, but they are supposed to.
History versus story.
Just in the same fashion, we have history and story. Yeah, I know. It gives headaches, right? The first thing you have to remember is history is an uncountable noun. What does this mean? It doesn't have a plural form, and you cannot use a or an. You cannot say a history, or you cannot say two histories, you cannot say three histories. No, forget it. History is an uncountable word and it's singular. And when do we use it? Well, history refers to the events that happen in the past of someone's life or the life of a country, the life of a city, the life of a culture, whatever, right? But it refers to all these set of events that have happened through the passing of time. And of course, it also refers to the academic subject. Some people love it, some people hate it, but well, history. And what about story? Well, story on the other hand works a little bit different. First of all, you must remember story is a countable noun. With this one, you can use a plural form and you can say a story. But what the hell is a story then? Well, story is a narration of events that happen to you or someone, imaginary or real, right, at some point in time. Yeah, so we can say that actually someone tells really funny stories. But you cannot say the same with history. History is just that, history.
Interested or interesting.
And I have you one more for this video, and you cannot deny it. Yes, with the adjectives that finish with ed and the adjectives that finish with ing. Oh yes, they can be so painful, they are a pain in the neck. But the biggest difference is easy to catch. Well, so if you're speaking about yourself, what do you think that matches better? I am bored or I am boring? Well, if your answer is that you are boring, well, I'm so sorry for you. Oh well, at least you're honest. If you're saying you're boring, you're assuming that that's one of your characteristics. If you start talking, everybody falls asleep. Sorry, but that's what you're saying. Like every time I listen to politicians speaking, believe me, they are so boring. Politicians are boring. Boring. So, unless that's the case, the correct answer should be I'm bored. I'm bored expresses a transitory feeling provoked, in my case, by politicians. Politicians are boring. So, what effect do they produce in me? Boredom. So, I feel bored. So, did you catch the difference? The ing form represents a situation that can be created either by people or things in general, while the ed adjectives are representing a feeling, a reaction that was provoked by an external agent. Ed adjectives only work with living things. My dog can be bored, I can be bored, but the movie can be bored? Not really. Just follow this pattern. The ing form refers to the cause, and the ed adjective refers to the effect. Cause and effect. Well, so of course there are many more mistakes that English learners make, and that are quite common, but we're gonna leave those for a second part of this video, or who knows, maybe a third part, or a fourth one, or a fifth, I don't know, there are like many mistakes that we can speak of. Well, this one speaking to you right here is Teacher Hilster, and I would like to remind you, if you found this video useful and you liked it, please don't hesitate to hit the subscribe button right here, and don't hesitate to click on the bell so you can receive all our notifications. Every time somebody new subscribes to our channel, our hearts just grow bigger and bigger and bigger.